Oh, oh, you're talking about when I asked her for the definition of driver, and she went down and got a single contact, no alarm stalking order. And Bernadette House knew that that's not the grounds for a stalking order.
So now you're standing in this hearing, your friends are there, the people from the hospital are there. This woman, her last name House,
Yeah, I'm
is
almost I'm so
is
close to her name.
is
Uh,
there,
Bernadette House. There she is.
and you did. So they're trying to figure out if they're gonna put drugs in you.
Yeah.
For what? Okay.
The first day and a half that I was there, the biggest portion of that hearing, there were two psychiatrists that agreed with each other. They independently interviewed me, and they said, "You have delusional disorder." They diagnosed me. It wasn't part of their job. They're supposed to determine whether I am out of it, sufficiently out of it, that I cannot help an attorney with my own case. And they said he doesn't believe that DMV can title and register and license people to drive. And they're going on and on about all these studies in Europe and Australia and all of the and Bernadette House, what are you telling me? And but you can tell that she's beginning to sense that something's going on, right? And the second day, toward the end of the day, it was my turn. Oh, the Attorney General's office was there.
Of course.
And there were two attorneys sitting at the bench. What I don't know what the word would be, but they were essentially trying to get me to take drugs. And their boss, a third attorney, and her staff, her office staff were there. So there were three attorneys and other Attorney General's office staff there. And so it was my turn to testify. And when you testify, just be really careful what you say. And I said, I'm going to tell everything that I need to tell. I can't let all of my friends that are in this room down. I cannot back off from my position. I'm going to have to tell them what's going on. And I have to tell the truth. So I started, this one gal, one of the attorneys said, "Oh, you have a restraining order against you from Kate Brown. Is that correct?" I go, "Can you tell me a little bit more about that? I'm not sure I understand." She said, "A restraining order." I said, "What? A restraining order is because of something. What was that?" Oh, you're talking about when I asked her for the definition of driver, and she went down and got a single contact, no alarm stalking order. And Bernadette House knew that that's not the grounds for a stalking order. Listening to this, and when I said, so she got this stalking order based on a single contact with no alarm, and the gal sits there and her eyes get really big and her chin drops down, and I counted to three. I go, 1, 2, 3. Thank you. And then I keep going with the story about Kate Brown. And I did that 3 times. But basically I was telling the history of getting up to that point where I was at this drug hearing, telling everything that happened in between getting the stalking order from Kate Brown and what happened to put me in this state hospital. And 3 times she stopped talking, and each time I would count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. And I would keep going. And the judge, and at the end of 2 days, she said, "Okay, I'm gonna write up my findings, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And a week or so went by, and they kicked me out. They threw me out without. I never got to see a judge. And
they didn't give you drugs.
They didn't give me drugs.
Did you get any reports?
What?
Any reports? Any paperwork? Anything?
No.
You didn't get.
I got a copy. I got a CD of the whole hearing. I have the CD of that.
Wow. And they had you for how many days?
Oh, well, I was in the state hospital for 4.5 months, but I was held a total of 300 days. Held without even being arraigned.
Arrested on a misdemeanor, telephonic harassment.
Mm-hmm. A Class B misdemeanor.
And held for how many days?
300
days, almost a year. And then they just kick you out of the hospital.
They kicked me out of the hospital in early May, just a couple of weeks before the optional titling rule that DMV had adopted in 2005 was repealed. It was repealed on May 18th, and that would have been a killer if I'd have known that that was up for a hearing on May 18th.
You would have been there.
Yeah, I would have been there, but I didn't find that out until after I got out. So.
And you got out when?
Just early May. I don't remember the day, but like 3rd, 4th, 5th, somewhere in there, during the first week of May. So that's what happened then. And that was 2012, and then I was so angry, I was so pissed off. I wanted to nail Dexter Johnson, who was obviously responsible for all of this. And a friend of mine and I put together a package with all the evidence of the crime, of the corruption that was going on. And another friend and I went down to Salem to deliver it, to serve it on Dexter Johnson. We said, you're either going to, the long and short of it is, you're either going to tell everybody what's real with this driver licensing thing, or we're going to come down here and arrest you and walk you across the street to the Supreme Court building where we'll find a judge who can arraign you and let them take care of you. So we were on the veranda in front of the state capitol waiting for 1 o'clock when he would be back from lunch. And here comes this gal, state police person, a lieutenant named Terry Davey. And she comes out and she says, you can't be here. And I go, yeah, where should I be? I said, I have and this is already, we've already talked about this a little bit. I said, where should I be? And she said, just go down there on the sidewalk. So I went down on the sidewalk, and she was chasing my friend around. He was determined to go through the door, and now it's 1 o'clock.
So she was talking to you and not your friend,
right.
But you can't be, okay.
Yeah, she knew me. She didn't know my friend, but then she was chasing him around and trying to keep him out of the front door. And I'm yelling at him, hey, she's got a gun. She's going to kill your ass. You got to quit. Just come back. Come down here.
He's trying to serve these papers to Dexter.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she's trying to stand between him and the door, and he keeps going her off to the side, and they're dancing on the front steps of the Capitol.
But he's not in the same position as you. There's no stalking order and stuff like that with him
right.
in the Capitol.
Right.
It's just that he was with you.
Right. And he and I shared this office for years. He was an associate of mine. But he knew everything
that was going on.
Mm-hmm. And he thought that, with his capacity, he was a promoter. What I helped him with was his pet shows. He did trade shows with pet shops and the providers of pet goods, pet foods, pet toys, pet animal hospitals, and he would do these annual events, and I would help him sell.
So he was a friend, associate of yours for a while, and this issue was important to him too. And you came together, and you were going to serve Dexter Johnson this information, saying that he needs to come clean with this, or that you're going to do a citizen's arrest, which by right you.
And we're gonna arrest you as citizens. We're gonna bring cameras. We're gonna have a live stream feed so that it can't be, so our cameras can't just be confiscated.
Right,
That's the end of the tape. And we're going to have this guy who's nationally known bring his camera crew. That's.
I mean, you've been hurt several times. You're on a mission. You're on a goal. Did the papers ever get served to Dexter?
No.
She stopped him without knowing really who he was or what he was doing. It was just that he was with you. And so you're down on the sidewalk.
And when she stops Pat, when she discourages him, and then she turns around and comes down toward me, and I'm watching her approach with a hostile attitude, and I better get out of here. So I turn around toward the street, and there's too many cars. I can't cross the street. And she says, "You're under arrest." And I go, "Okay, what for? What for this time?" And she goes, "For disorderly conduct." I said, "I'm sorry, but you can't do that. That requires that you take the names of all the witnesses that I disturbed with my disorderly conduct." And I saw you didn't. There were only a few people that walked by the Capitol that day. And I said, "You didn't get anybody's name." And she said, and she guessed again. She says, "Trespassing on the sidewalk." I'm sorry, that doesn't work either. It's a public sidewalk. This is a public street. The sidewalk is part of the street. It's a public sidewalk. And that was her final guess. She was going to stick with that. And that individual, Terry Davey, because of her prompt response to my threats against this criminal enterprise, she was promoted to the assistant superintendent of state police.